Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Trekyards. He is Commander Calkins.
He's Captain Foley.
And we're here today to talk about Supernova Part 1, Episode 19 of Prodigy. We're almost at the end.
Do you think that when they made this episode, they thought Trekyards is going to say some things? Has a new bar been raised for stuff for us to talk about? Like ship shots?
It was good. I do enjoy the ship battles stuff. I do have a lot of questions, though. Honestly, it seemed like a lot of weird waiting around. That's one of the things that kind of bothered me about it. But honestly, the whole way it flowed together, even with the diviner and stuff, I think was really good. I don't think that's how Starfleet works. But I really enjoyed the episode. I can't wait to see part 2 and see how this gets all resolved. If it does, it's got some big heavy hitters in that battle. Defiant, the Sovereign, literally the namesakes. How about you? What did you think of it?
It's my probably second favourite of this half of the season. I think structurally it's super impressive to be able to achieve a fully fleshed out, multi-layered space battle, because there's 2 different battles that take place, which are different thematically, and interesting character stuff, intercut them organically, and have each plot feel reasonable. That's very impressive, because intercut between kids fighting a robot on a spaceship to space battle, or you know, those sorts of intercuts don't, or lady in prison cell versus space battle. There's a disconnect of pace potentially, but they achieved what the dialogue in those scenes and the timing of them was very well crafted. Because we've seen other treks where that hasn't worked. This worked very well. You know, I was left thinking, you know, that the last time we saw a Dreadnought, he got defeated very easily. So it's nice to see him in his full power and actually win against the kids, and then get there was a nice flow of why things were happening. Not so much the Diviner's death, or possible death. But I liked it. It was good. I left with a huge vibe at the end. Like, oh.
It's a good thing Dreadnought was set to not non-lethal mode, because Dreadnought could easily killed everybody. Didn't kill anybody, not even Dal. That was a lucky shot to pin Dal to the wall. I'm just saying. Yeah, so things like that kind of bothered me a little bit.
But a bit more shocking if they kill the entire main cast.
Just seems weird that a Dreadnought would be in non-lethal mode, it seemed like.
When keeping them alive serves no purpose whatsoever.
Exactly, yeah.
Except command codes, but...
Yeah, as far as, like, problems go for me, I mean, the Protostar's shields went down, and it's sitting there, surrounded by, like, 15-plus Federation ships, and nobody does anything. They just sit there for so long. And then after the construct does its thing, I don't know why warp coils go red. But
why Basards go red, like red? Yeah, that was an artistic.
Yeah, the lights I can understand because everything's at red alert. Even on the Bridge of the Dauntless, it's all just red, which is fine. But the warp coils doing that is weird.
And deflectors.
And then everybody with shields down, 1 or 2 pock shots here and there. There's a whole conversation going on the Protostar, and you just see like. Like, that's not how starships would destroy each other. They'd be annihilated pretty quickly. So that kind of bothered me a little bit. And I feel bad for everybody on those ships that is dying, that can't communicate with their crew, or let's say it's a ship where there's like a relationship, somebody has a relationship, they can't say goodbye to the person because they can't understand each other. It's like, goddamn. I don't think that's how Starfleet works, just sitting there doing nothing. Nobody hailed the Protostar. Nobody did anything. You think there'd be like 15 hails coming in, or at least 1 from like the lead ship, and just nothing happens.
Yeah, and on the everyone shooting Port Impel dying. Yeah, I mean, this is a kid show, but they just killed like 2,000 Starfleet officers.
But if you don't see it, it doesn't count.
Well, okay, but like, this is a kid show. There's massacred Starfleet officers left, right, and center. Yeah, the pacing wise, yes, it's very tricky always to have a pause moment. The way to fix that, honestly, would have been if there was because who's in charge of the fleet? You can often say there's a 1 officer, everyone's waiting for their command. Now, that's in theory Janeway, but she's been relieved. So it's Andorian guy, but he's not been very active in the situation. So there is nobody in the fleet doing anything actively. But I was expecting certainly dozens of security teams to beam board the Protostar as soon as the shields go down. Why are they waiting for the Dauntless specifically? Why are other ships not coming in and tractor beaming or you know, sending shuttles, whatever? Yeah, that was certainly the weakest point. Of there were other captains take upon themselves to beam a crew over. They wouldn't wait for no orders because Janeway's out of the picture, and they would know Janeway's out of the picture. They'd instantly get an update, and the Andorian isn't asking just his own crew. And given that he only sends 2 people, it's like, why isn't... I'm sure there's better engineers on other ships. You aren't a crew that's specifically amazing. You're just the crew that Janeway grabbed to chase. There are probably better engineers on other ships. So I was expecting, honestly, like, multiple crews to beam in, Dreadnought to massacre them, and, like, be another action beat. Because it's fine if they keep beaming in, but how many minutes does it take for the Defiant to sit there and say, no one's beamed over in 5 minutes. Should we check? Defiant to Dauntless, what's going on? Like, there should be massive interconnectivity of captains and discussions, and that's probably Worf on the Defiant. Like, that's some... Well, no, I guess that's I was thinking First Contact. I mean, that could easily be Kira or somebody from the main cast, because it's the Defiant. There isn't 2 the Defiants, and this isn't that far after DS9, so...
Yeah, and yes, it is the Defiant. We do see the name Defiant on it. I just want to point that, and Sovereign as well.
It is the Sovereign, the Defiant, and the Centaur. All 3. And they shoot the Centaur's bridge, so I guess the Centaur gets killed. And there is several other Defiants that they don't put the registry in, so when they show the Defiant, it's trying to be the Defiant, which hands down ballsy of them to include the actual Defiant. Because that means that shit can't... Well, I guess it could blow up. God, they can kill the Defiant next week, holy hell. Woof. Well, sorry, the Defiant B, because they're making 3rd Defiant, they always do.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of issues like that for me that kind of just took me out of it a little bit. Like I said, Dreadnought being non-lethal doesn't make any sense.
Didn't even occur to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Just waiting around until something happens doesn't make any sense for Starfleet, especially with that many ships.
And also briefly, Dreadnought, because you just mentioned it again, where was this guy with the Diviner? He had all this tech, all of these unique functions, like throwing things. Like, why couldn't he take out those people that were attacking him in season 1.1? Like the fight, he has all of the... He felt like a Mandalorian or Boba Fett, like throwing gadgets. Very capable. Where was all that shit every other time?
Well, to be fair, the other Dreadnought with the Diviner was there for quite a few years. Maybe wasted all that kind of tech.
Maybe he did.
Maybe used it all. I don't know.
But you'd think he'd restock. Or reload. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I mean, that's okay. So yeah, while it was good, it was just it had weird moments for sure. So just seeing ships outside the window, like 1 or 2 phaser beams, and then maybe 1 hit. It's like, I don't know. I've seen a few space battles, and that's not quite how things would happen, I don't think.
Well, especially if when we saw the space station, the relay station, it was firing everything.
Yeah.
Like, the logic of this, and now we know the logic, we've been answered our question of how are they going to get more ships in. It's a one-use kill box. Like, once you activate it, people keep coming in, which is and we hadn't thought that was going to be the way, so that's an interesting way of approaching it. But we've always seen them. You would think, like, the Sovereign, every single phase strip would fire. Like, all of them at the same... All torpedoes. Like, I was expecting, honestly, all the ships to get destroyed by the end of the battle. And the fact that ships were just getting slight fires, one light beam, because those phaser beams at full power could probably rip through a ship without shields. Same torpedoes could blow up the bridge or one warp coil or warp core. It was a very ineffective... I mean, really, let's be honest. I think the construct was trying to make them suffer. Because if they wanted to kill everybody, they could do it in 3 minutes, just everyone fire, and they'd all be destroyed. It would be that quick, seriously. It'd be that quick. But that piss take must have been a, let's make them die and know they're dying. Because obviously they're fully stuck, so there's nothing they can do.
Yeah, there's also the fact of the other ships warping in. Yes, they sound distress signals for backup. As soon as the ship received that signal, it should have gone red. Not as soon as it drops out of warp and enters this affected area, it seems like. That's when it goes red. As soon as it got the distress signal, it would have been infected.
Yeah, that was a slight continuity problem as well. I think some of them warped... Yeah, one of them warped in red, but some of them didn't. Yeah, it was a mix.
Like 2 or 3 didn't.
Yeah,
so
which doesn't work either. And I was certainly waiting for a new class of ships to come in. I thought that would have been a nice payoff of, like, why are there more Sovereigns in range? Bloody hell.
Have a California class come in.
Yeah, exactly. Because, the ships you're not going to send to a fleet battle, they're the ones coming to help. Yeah, the crap ships. Yeah, that would have been kind of funny, actually.
But on a good note, at least most of the ships were firing from the correct weapons ports. Phaser strips, and even had pulse phasers from the Defiant, which is great. The Dauntless was still shooting out of the RCS thrusters, but that's okay.
It's not okay, but... and did you notice there's one shot the Defiant's firing phasers from its pulse phase launchers?
Yeah, I did notice
It's a bit embarrassing, honestly. Like, the pulse phasers look great, a bit slow, but because Defiant only has one aft phaser array, and you can't fire phaser and pulse phasers. That's not how they work. Like, I mean, maybe O'Brien could remodulate them, but I don't think the construct is going to waste their time remodulating the pulse phasers to phasers when they could just fire pulse phasers. That was a weird... Like, that animator hadn't watched Star Trek before. Like, obviously, lots of different people did the sequence, so some shots were more faithful, some shots were less faithful. That was just some guy called Bob did it, who didn't get the memo of each ship fires unique things. Well, speaking of, no quantums at all in the battle.
I did notice that too. Yeah,
barely even any photons.
That's because they're blue and they have to be red because everything's red, even the warp coils.
That is true. Phasers are orange, but they're all red for some reason.
Yeah. Also, there's the one maneuver, the slippery dipsy doodle, where they go up and then do the fall. That's like a fighter jet maneuver with gravity. That was kind of a weird, whatever. It's just a small little thing.
And did you notice the Prost also flew through the pylon of a Sovereign?
I didn't notice that.
There's one shot where it literally says, here's the ship, here's the nacelle, and it flies through somehow, which doesn't, I think, work scale-wise.
But another thing I really did enjoy is the callback and the reference to the Bernari refugees from Voyager. I thought that was a nice touch. And I didn't know... I thought that was going the exact opposite direction because she's like, if you knew me, you would know to let me out of here.
Knife.
Like, I do know you. I do know you. You lied on the Voyager to the Devore, and it's like, whoa, shit. But I'm gonna let you go because you did that. You know, that was a nice little callback. I want to go back and watch that episode now and look for a little girl.
Well, there's many. I love that episode. That's a really strong episode anyway. So that was a nice touch, and it also tells us the wormhole got to the Federation potentially, and those kids got inspired to join the Federation because it's not a short process, and then got on a high-end ship. It just leaves me wondering, after all these days or weeks on the Dauntless, she never went and said hello, because she's on that's the Dauntless. Like, that's just random security. You would think you'd say hello pretty early in the mission because you're so honoured. And also, why suddenly rescue her? Because she was standing there for several minutes, not letting her out. There was no moment of change of heart which said, actually, I'm convinced by you, because, I mean, she says it's dangerous, but if she's crazy, she'll say anything. That in itself is not proof. I would think she would have said either let her go straight away or just not let her go and genuinely try and convince her. So it's a bit like, well, we have to have a pacing moment here, and then she's released. So it was great, but it was a bit odd.
Yeah. I was also kind of annoyed that Jellicoe wasn't there. He was clearly on Earth.
I know you were.
Starfleet.
I knew you'd be annoyed.
You saw the bridge in the background, so that was kind of annoying because I expected him to be on one of the ships.
Yeah, no high-ranking officer came along apparently.
Yeah, well, I'm sure there's somebody on some bridge, but nobody bothered to like hail and not, identify themselves.
But the Klingon lady did appear at the end. She hailed, identified herself, talked Klingon, and a bloody heroic Klingon moment.
Mm-hmm. That ship got destroyed.
Well, yeah, one of them did, because there was like 6, 7 birds, and they were their variant, the custom variant, which I'm thrilled to look at.
I noticed that too.
Yay!
Yeah, and I love they mention a Gorn ship. They mention, a whole bunch of stuff. And one thing I found weird too was Gwen was asking for help. She said, "Your transports, your freights, your shields, your freights. How about your freighters?" That bothered me so much.
Well, she's speaking Klingon. She's speaking every language. I mean, she can't translate everything. But I mean, what boss move? I'm sure they're going to be in part 2. That's why they invested in more asset conversion. But they, you don't need to include all those assets, and they're really like trying hard, and I commend them for that. And to use the TOS Gorn ship, like, you can't get more canon than used again, which again makes Stranger Worlds look like the outlier, because now the Gorn are both friendly, spacefaring, helping the Federation and not want to eat them or breed with them. Like, Stranger World Gorn are nonsense. Once again, fourth show to show the Gorn as good guys, or like logical beings, and they chose to come and help. And also means they were in Federation space, which means they were at peace with them, because they were in Federation space, in the middle of Federation space. So the Klingons are at peace with, the Gorn are at peace with. Like, they don't realize how important that is as a note, but like, we're literally at peace with the Gorn. Cool.
I saw it was when the Universal Translators went down. I love that scene. First of all, that was a great idea. And then Janeway trying to fix the situation. Cool. And then she fixes it on the Protostar, but for some reason on the Dauntless, okay, so nobody understood the order to abandon ship because the universal translators were off. Fine. But then later, with nobody fixing it on the Dauntless, all of a sudden the Tellarite doctor is like, Admiral! And everything seems to be fixed translation-wise on the Dauntless near the end. And I don't know how that happened necessarily. Unless...
Well, it's funny you say that, because the Janeway on the Protostar is a hologram training bot, which means she doesn't have full knowledge of how to work the systems, like, truly. So my assumption is that when she did it, it must have been not that hard a change, because if she's not an engineering robot. Like, she's not, like, the Doctor couldn't fix that without learning, so why would she? So just the engineering officer, as soon as translator goes down, it's your job to fix it, and if you're the engineering staff in engineering, you're going to try and fix it, because without that, you're kind of screwed. So just the Dauntless crew has fixed it as well. Like, that would be the first thing you try and do, because like you say, if you can't order escape, then everyone's dead. So I'd assume just engineering guy 4 fixed it on his own back. It's not that difficult. But a great tactic, I mean, to cause division in your crew, just and also shows that they don't learn English.
You think a few people might take standard in the academy. It might be important, but guess not.
Like, people actually just speak their own language and we're all equal because of it, which is a nice thing to remember. So that was a really smart little twist of the knife. Well, I was expecting to see an epic scene at the end with like thousands of escape pods launching from every ship, as in cumulatively. Although then it'd be a massacre of escape pods.
It'd be cool to see escape pods launching and then just getting picked off.
Oh, that's the thing. This is a horrific scene to end on. I mean, I think you could argue the end of this episode is stronger than Best of Both Worlds for dramatic value of where the hell can they go from here. They have no way of solving the problem with the construct. Ships can't warp out. Ships are warping in. The friends are getting hurt. Yes, they might be able to save people, but the ship is still massacring people. I mean, this is a horrific ending of an episode. Don't know how they're going to end the season. I have no clue.
And there's no way to help them. You can't destroy the ships that are attacking because they're Starfleet ships. The Klingon does say prepare to beam aboard, but if you beam people to your ship, then you're going to. We saw the one bird of prey get destroyed, decimated.
Because the shields have to be down to beam, so instantly.
Well, they weren't shooting at them, but those ships were getting in the way to protect them with the shields.
Okay, so that's the caveat. Yeah, everyone can be beamed out, just all the ships will get destroyed. But if new ships are coming in all the time, and a Sovereign's like 500 people, a Bird of Prey can't fit 500 people. A Freighter can't fit 500. There is a limit of saving ability.
Yeah, as for resolution of the season, I think they're hinting at time travel. They're going to time travel before this happened and stop it, because there's too much damage going on, too much personnel getting killed. Diviner does say to Gwen, I want you to see Solom with your own eyes. And she's like, I don't even know where Solom is. He also says, I want you to, maybe you can unify our people, something I could never do. And so it's hinting that she kind of needs to go back in or forward in time to stop Starfleet after first contact, fix the problem. So there's going to be some kind of time travel, I think. And I hope Chakotay is in the next episode. I hope they find him. It's a lot to wrap up in one episode, because the episode is called Supernova. Okay, Supernova Part 1. And then the Supernova Part 2. So my guess is there's something, an anomaly, a supernova going on somewhere nearby that they can use the gravitational well of to time travel and either fix the first contact issue on Solom after Federation made first contact, so these guys never went back in time to destroy Starfleet, or stop the Vindicator before she actually opens a hail. It's one of those two, I think. So that's my call on that. But
I mean, if they'd killed Janeway, I'd have agreed with you. If they'd blew up the Dauntless.
Well, they're getting there. It'll be the first thing that happens in the next episode.
I was going to say, because they've already upped the scope so drastically. I don't know. Things the Diviner served his purpose. And so him being dead, I didn't feel like we've got to undo that. I felt like, we just, like, the Vindicator's taken over the role of baddie, so he's dead now. Because the dialogue was certainly specific and, help the Civil War not happen. Well, that's a decade in the future and in a different part of the quadrant. Like, and time's now changed, so the chance of that happening as it happened is 0. Because you don't destroy 100 Starfleet ships without changing everything that happens after. Like, you need those ships, all those ships doing things, especially Sovereigns. I mean, my God, those are going to have influence. That's possible. I mean, we certainly, if they kill Janeway next episode, and then Chakotay takes over as the Starfleet officer person, relay to the story, in the future. That would certainly be logical. Maybe they go to the future. They go to the future, but they miss it by like 5 years. Now Chakotay's like a grizzled officer living this post-Solon future. Everyone left, so he's made his own like Delta Quadrant posse. But then he wants to undo it all, maybe. I don't know. Because they left it, like I say, in such a dramatic place. I mean, at least the Defiant should survive, but killing the Centaur and Sovereign, God, you... And there's still, after all that, there's still more to talk about, Stuart. But, of course, even though we're in a Christmas season, this episode is a Trekyardian's dream, so tune in for a lot of comparisons with a lot of these ships. Are they studio models? Are they brand new models? Are they Eaglemoss models? Are they game models? We don't know. We'll find out. And, I mean, we just talked about what's happening next week. Lots to discuss, so tune in to those videos for the Christmas period, and, of course, our live today. If you can join in, it's definitely worth talking about at normal time. And say a Christmas goodbye to this, to us as well. Yeah. Yeah,
and while you're doing all that stuff, hit like. Don't forget to super thanks on this video and comment down below. Very important. Yeah, like you said, if you want to get notified of those lives, make sure you click notification bell icon to all and help us out. Come and join on the lives and talk with us because we like chatting with you guys.
We love it, actually, I'd say. And support directly, Patreon, PayPal, join the channel. Those are great ways too. All of the ways, Stuart, all of the ways.
That's right. So until next time, guys, he is Commander Cockings.
He's Captain Foley. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.